What's up, Guardians? Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. What are the best swords to use in Destiny 2 right now? Well, that's a question that we intend on answering in today's video. While they're not suited for every situation, swords can deal an unparalleled amount of damage from point-blank range. In Final Shape, Bungie has added several new artifact mods that will greatly improve the performance of every sword. We have the Overload Sword mod, which will give swords the ability to stun Overload champions. They'll disrupt enemies, reducing their overall damage output. And when in activities that offer modifiers, swords will always be overcharged, getting an increase in overall damage. There's also Blade Stamina, which will return ammo directly back into your sword whenever rapidly defeating enemies. Press the Advantage will give swords increased guard resistance, and the Argent Blade mod will empower your sword, giving it a 15% increase in damage while you have armor charges active. There's also a few mods like Creeping Chill and Expanding Abyss that will boost the performance of specific energy types, and in the aforementioned cases, improving Void and Stasis weapons. So by extension, this makes Void and Stasis swords much more powerful options than they have been in the past. As we assess the best swords that you can use right now, we'll be identifying which swords are better suited for optimal damage, and which swords are better suited to cut through big groups of enemies. We start with the Lament. This exotic is getting a nerf to how much healing it provides, and how much damage its heavy attack deals. Even with that being the case, the Lament will continue to provide unparalleled blocking abilities, and it's still going to be one of the most powerful DPS options that we've got. Because of the reduced heavy damage, the Lament will drop off a bit in overall damage numbers, making way for the Bequest to take over that top spot. Surrounded can be an incredible damage bonus when used in the right situation, and it's a perfect trait to have with swords, since you're almost always going to be surrounded. There's even Vorpal as an option with this sword, which is great with sustained damage. But how does the Bequest do with crowd control? Well, it offers chain reaction, and even though that is getting a nerf, it will still make for a great perk for crowd control. The Fallen Guillotine is the one sword that I could see surpassing the Bequest, since it offers the combination of Vorpal and Bait and Switch, making this a perfect option for damage. But it also offers Repulsor Brace, Chain Reaction, and Destabilizing Rounds, which will all play off of those artifact mods really well. The Slammer is the next big standout, a stasis sword that offers Eager's Edge or Chain Reaction, along with either Bait and Switch or Cold Steel. These are some extremely lethal combinations, especially when paired up with those artifact mods. I don't see it putting up as much damage as the Fallen Guillotine or the Bequest, but it will cut straight through champions just as easily as it will wave after wave of rank and file enemies. The Zephyr Stasis Sword will be a tremendous alternate option, but I think the introduction of the Slammer has really diminished the Zephyr's value. With swords and void weapons both getting buffed, it's a perfect time for Titans to pull out those Throne Cleavers and Crown Splitters. These are by far the most powerful sword options, but they're solely reserved for the Titan class. With options of Vorpal or Surrounded, you'll be able to make quick work out of any enemy. The Gold Tusk is another class-specific sword that's worth mentioning since it does come with Surrounded, and it's a lightweight sword, so hunters can get a lot of strikes in a short amount of time. The Dragoncult Sickle is one of the more unique swords on this list, and it's the only strand sword. It doesn't necessarily excel at raw damage, but it does offer Slice, which reduces your enemy's damage output. It can also drop with hatchlings, giving you a lot of bonus synergy with strand or prismatic builds. It's naturally going to be great against rank and file enemies, but since it does offer Surrounded in its fourth column, it could still put up a decent chunk of damage. The Heartshadow is the only other exotic sword that we'll be mentioning today, and it's not on this list because of its damage capabilities. It's on this list because of its synergy with those new artifact mods. The Heartshadow will grant you invisibility, which could help you get out of some sticky situations. Plus it weakens enemies, triggering many of those void artifact mods. And once an enemy is weakened, you'll deal bonus damage. This will be a really strong option in terms of crowd control and general gameplay. I wouldn't advise to use this as your main source of DPS, but if you're fighting champions or anything smaller, it's going to be perfect. The other half is the next sword that we'll be talking about, another Void sword that is craftable, and it's got a good amount of flexibility with its perk options. You've got Eager's Edge for that quick movement, and you can also put on Repulsor Brace to give you an overshield when defeating weakened enemies. But Surrounded and Vorpal are also options in the fourth column that will really excel towards optimal damage. There is one other sword that could prove to be extremely powerful over these next few months, and that is the False Idols. It's a Pale Heart Solar Vortex sword that will come with options of Chain Reaction, Bait and Switch, Surrounded, or Vorpal. When it comes to optimal damage, the three best sword options that we have right now are going to be the Lament, the Bequest, and the Fallen Guillotine. And when it comes to the best swords for ad clear and general gameplay, we'll be looking at the Fallen Guillotine, the Slammer, and the Dragoncult Sickle. And with that said, we've now covered the best swords that you can use in Destiny 2: The Final Shape. Did your favorite sword not make it on today's list? Let us know what that sword is and why it should have been mentioned. Let us know down in the comments below, and let us know what your favorite new Final Shape weapon is. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit the like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. If you're a new Light Guardian, just starting your journey, or a battle-hardened veteran, just looking for a new home, then be sure to check out the Discord link in the description below and join one of the greatest communities in all of Destiny. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.